Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our September 13th regular Board of Trustees meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order. To begin the meeting, I need a approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, I would like to again welcome everyone for joining us to the meeting today, and thank you for attending virtually with us. This is a closed board meeting in lieu of the fact that we are 100% virtual within the district. Therefore, when that occurs, not only do we have the school that is doing everything from home, but we also have all of our extracurricular activities as well as our board meetings that are done in closed sessions or without the public. However, we will have the public that is able to come in and have our comments. We're still going to have the public comments. They'll be escorted in one at a time and be able to voice their concerns either on agenda items or non-agenda items. So we're going to move on to our Pledge of Allegiance. If you stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on our agenda is going to be our school highlights. And I am going to turn that over to Ms. Rayner.
Thank you, Chairman Hughes, members of the board. It is our pleasure tonight, as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of 9/11, to take a moment to recognize this extraordinary time in our history that has been observed within our schools. I don't know if many of you saw this weekend that South Carolina is one of 14 states that does include observance of 9/11 in their state education curriculum. And our schools have done an outstanding job of recognizing this moment in our history that has changed us forever and certainly does define us as a nation as we came together at a very difficult time. And that is being shared and has been shared with our students, who most of them were not even alive at the time. So that is something that we don't take lightly, which just leads right into our Constitution Day observance on this Friday, September the 17th, because it does reinforce again the values and the foundation of the nation that we all cherish. And our schools have plans in place, as they do each year, but this year I think it's taken on more of a significance. The high schools and middle schools have curriculum observances of Constitution Day that they are doing it at many different levels. Every school will be having a school-wide observance on Friday through either their morning TV show, principals speaking to students, those kinds of things, with videos and those things to bring it alive for their students. But more importantly, within the classroom at every level, elementary, middle, and high school, teachers will be spending time to talk about the Constitution, the importance of the Constitution. Ms. Radcliffe and Ms. Estep have shared with the district leadership some of the lesson plans, the videos, the PowerPoints that are being used in classrooms across our district, and not only for Friday, September 17th, but really on into next week through September the 23rd. So we're very, very proud that our children will be learning and be reminded of the foundation of what makes our country great, especially at this time. So anyone that would like additional information about some of the curriculum, some of the things that are being done, we would be more than happy to share that. It's quite moving and quite impressive. I learned things, and I probably thought I was quite knowledgeable, but no. So anyway, we're very proud of our schools and our leadership for reinforcing that. Secondly, we would like to officially welcome and congratulate our new Executive Director of the Dorchester 2 Educational Foundation, Ralph Hayes. Because of our limited attendance this evening at the board meeting, Ralph is coming to us with this nice photograph and beautiful smile that I think reflects his excitement and certainly his enthusiasm for his new role as leading the foundation. You will have an opportunity in coming weeks to hear from Ralph and see him personally. But just to tell you a little bit about what brings him to us to lead the foundation, certainly Jenny Crosby has done such a magnificent job with the work of the foundation, and we certainly feel that Ralph is going to carry that on and build on those successes in an extraordinary way. Ralph joins us having served in Charleston County School District for 18 years. In the past 9 years, he has been program officer for the North Charleston Expanded Learning. And in that role, he did work with after-school programs and programs within schools in Charleston County. He did there not only after school, but also community events throughout North Charleston that brought the schools into the community and vice versa. He has fostered strategic partnerships in that role that has certainly brought grants and funding that has definitely made a difference for students in the North Charleston area. He is very experienced in grant writing, in these strategic partnerships, and in fact has brought in over $1 million in national, state, and local grants for that program. Ralph is a member of and lives in Somerville. He's a member of the Somerville community, living in the downtown area. In fact, he could walk to work, I think, if he cared to do that. And his wife is Laura Hayes, who is a learning specialist, a modern learning specialist, in our school district, and is certainly a valued employee. And they have 2 children, and we certainly welcome him to the Dorchester District 2 family and know that he is going to do a magnificent job. So welcome and congratulations to Ralph Hayes. Thank you, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Ms. Rayner. Okay, next on our agenda is public comments on agenda items. Do we have any public comments? Okay. Okay. We're going to begin with Candace Snyder.
Hi, my name is Candace Snyder. I am a DD2 parent of 2 students who wear masks and are not eligible for the vaccination because of their age. And I am a vaccinated and masking proud educator on Team Dorchester. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade resource, and so I have students on my caseload who are immunocompromised and at high risk for COVID-19. Since the start of our school year in South Carolina, our state legislature and our governor have doubled down on their proviso, and they have refused to convene an emergency session to revisit and review the impact that it's had on our schools. I've reached out to them and have had no response. They have denied you and other districts the ability to make safe choices for your communities. They have prohibited your ability to provide parent choice for in-person and virtual instruction. They have taken away your authority to implement a mask mandate in our schools. They have locked us, your students, your staff, and your educators in our school homes with the fire that is COVID-19, and they have taken away your access to water to put the fire out. But you can still call the fire department. Last Thursday, Dr. Edward Simmer, the DHEC director, said that DHEC has the authority to implement mask mandates in schools, but that a statewide mandate would not be appropriate because of the different needs of the district. So I'm here tonight to request that the board and Mr. Pai approach DHEC and request a mask mandate in DD2 schools, and that the board and Mr. Pai enforce that mandate. Parents will still have a choice to mask their students or bear the inconvenience of finding other opportunities for their kids' education. Their choice to not mask is no longer appropriate for them to put the health and safety of our school communities at risk and impose an inconsistent and disruptive school year on the school community. Highly encouraging is not enough. It has already failed us. We are at risk now. And while our state legislator and governor turn their back on South Carolina public education once more, I ask you to not turn your back on us. Please don't wait until it is one of our children, our personal children, or our students who are represented by a dot on an infographic from our children's hospitals or counted in our daily death counts for our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder.
Hello, my name's Jessica McHale, and this is a little out of my comfort zone, so bear with me. I understand these are challenging times, and it's my hope and my prayer that we can come together as a community to create a well-defined solution to bring children physically back to school safely on September 16th. A safer environment with more organized protocols and safety measures. We must make changes. If we don't, it's going to keep happening. Changes that include safety protocol and an adjustment of our behaviors as a community. The stark division and angry heckling that has been displayed in our community and these board meetings since the pandemic began, it's not benefiting anyone, especially our children. They're watching us, and this is hurting them. Proposed changes. When quarantine is required, present a parent or guardian with guidelines. Provide classroom comparable academics while at home. Have a standard protocol for informing families and teachers in a timely manner. I commend the staff and the teachers and the nurses. They are stretched too thin. And our current situation is not sustainable. This year, as well as last year, our family, which has only one student in DD2, received vague and very late notices of close COVID contact. Both times we were contacted a week and a half after the exposure. That allowed us to go into our communities and our families and possibly spread COVID. I'm not blaming the staff or the nurses. They're working hard. It's the situation and the lack of organization and protocol that we need to do better with. We need to implement a mask mandate. If the school board feels that you can't due to funding or legalities, there are other things you can do. You can encourage or offer incentives to staff and students to wear one. Implement social distancing. Classroom morning entry temperature checks. This seems excessive, I get it. But think of all the children, even not COVID sick, who don't need to be at school sick. Air purification devices in each classroom. Please consider implementing these suggestions. Without additional safety protocols, the cycle will continue and our state will suffer worse, medically, mentally, financially, and educationally. If you do implement safety protocol, please list it somewhere district-wide. Currently, our school website has the CDC guidelines posted on it. This is very misleading because we are not following CDC guidelines. Please take specific actions now. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you, Ms. McHale. This is all one. Okay, next up is Jason Brocker.
Good evening, Madam Chair, DD2 Board, and Mr. Pye. Here we are again. You've heard me speak several times at this board, and I always speak about respect and hearing everybody. What we're not doing tonight is we're not hearing everybody. What we have going on outside is there are many voices that want to be heard. I have multiple points from a group of concerned parents. We don't hear back from you. I understand that you are inundated with emails. You get calls, you get texts, and you try to deal with everybody. But we have people that are not being heard. So in all these points that I have, I want to reiterate that the start of this year was a catastrophe. You can't deny that. The amount of kids in our district that have infected other kids with COVID, the teachers that are out, the people that have died. We saw this coming. We did nothing about it. I understand that the governor has tied our hands. There are other paths in front of us that I don't think we've fought hard enough to go down. I understand that you cannot make everybody happy, but I want you to keep everybody healthy. So the late Congressman John Lewis has said, when you see something that's not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. Going against the governor's temporary law mandating masks, which would protect all of us and keep schools open, is the good kind of trouble. It's necessary trouble. It's not what's been laid out in front of us. It's what's around the corner. It's what's under the rocks. It's the things that we have to look for and fight for. Now, the amount of infection, the amount of spread, the amount of stress that we have put our staff and our students, not just the teachers, the nurses, the cafeteria staff, the custodians, the bus drivers. Oh my goodness, the bus drivers that keep our kids safe on the way to and from school every day and protect them with their very lives. And we are not listening to them the way we are. The stress levels are huge. We already saw what didn't work, and we're bound to just repeat this again. We start back up without the most common, available, effective method of preventing disease transmission, respiratory disease transmission. I can spout facts and figures all day long. I can show you studies and surveys that you've seen. I can give you lists of articles that have been peer-reviewed time and time again. I can get them from both sides of the house, and it doesn't seem to matter. We say, we don't know what the right answer is. We don't know if masks work. I can tell you that masks work. I can show you 100 things that masks work. They're not 100%, but it's the only thing that we have to prevent the first 3 weeks of this school year from repeating themselves again. You need to think outside the box. Thank you.
Next is Nicole Fleming.
Hello, I would just like to start by saying that I think everybody coming today has the common goal of safety for our children and keeping the children in school. I would like to start with some stats with COVID. 330 million people currently in the US, 41 million have contracted COVID. That's 1 in 8 people. Of that, 670,000 people have died. That's 1 in 61 people. Of that, 173 million people that were vaccinated, only 12,000 had breakthrough cases. And of that, 1 in 13,000 have died from COVID. Most of our children, including my child who is 10, is not old enough to get the vaccine. She is high risk. She does not do well in a learning environment at home. I would like for the kids to stay in school because I feel like they do learn better. But I don't feel like the board has addressed the children who have health issues. We have talked about the kids who do not learn well, children with autism, children who may have blind issues, they cannot function with the computers at home. We did not talk about the kids who have underlying conditions such as cancer, chronic lung disease, diabetes, Down syndrome, heart conditions, immunocompromised, obesity, and sickle cell anemia. Many of the children in our schools have those conditions and are not being spoken about. CDC is recommending masks for the children who are not fully vaccinated. Most of our kids in elementary schools cannot get the vaccine because they are not old enough. I understand that the board does not want to go against the guidelines and the laws, but other districts have. President Biden has said that he will make sure the schools get their funding, and there are also grants you can apply for if your funding is taken away. I think that we need to take a stand and implement masks to protect children like my child. I don't think any parent wants to see their child on a ventilator. I personally have. It's not a pretty and a fun sight. Hope nobody ever has to ever see that. My child, 10-year-old beautiful girl, is scared at school because kids are not wearing masks. I don't elicit this fear in her. She is old enough to understand her condition. Some children may die from COVID, yes. One of those children could be my children, and it could be prevented by implementing masks. I ask the board to please consider implementing universal masking in our schools. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Fleming. Next up is Jake O'Donnell.
We all share the common goal of reaching a day where we can safely unmask and return to normal life. For everyone in our communities, what matters is the way that we reach that goal safely, using facts and evidence based on information from multiple reputable resources. Last year, DD2 schools required masks and subsequently introduced hybrid schedules. Students had plexiglasses on each side of their desk, and at the end of each period, teachers had some students wipe down desks and chairs with a disinfectant wipe before next period. When I showed up to my first day of junior year, all these safety measures had been removed. It's no surprise that our numbers are high. We have done almost nothing to stop the spread, and it's only getting worse. I know because I see it. Every day, more and more students are missing from their desks. Teachers and staff have died from COVID-19, and the only thing I can think about is if I'm going to be next or if the classmate next to me is going to be next. I wear a mask to school because, it keeps me and my family safe. I wear a mask to work because it keeps everyone there safe. If we can't get others to wear masks, then we can at least resort to some alternative, at least wiping stuff down. At least we can do stuff that, to the bare minimum. How many more people have to die before, we can at least do the bare minimum? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Next up is Amber Hoteling. Nope, hold on. What's your name?
I'm Emily Havener. I am here for Amber Hoteling's spot. She has conceded her spot to me to speak on her behalf.
Okay.
I'm here to talk about a group of parents and students that have been largely overlooked in this debate. It was touched on a bit earlier. These are students that cannot learn in the virtual setting and need to be back in school. My son is one of them, and I'm going to read parent comments who are in favor of mask wearing so that we can get back to school, so that these students can have an academic year that they are entitled to. These are students that need to have face-to-face learning. They have anxiety in the virtual learning platform. They are SPED or special needs. They have IEPs and 504s, which the district has a legal obligation to implement, and many of which cannot be implemented virtually. I'll say again, these are parents who want their children to be in school and wearing masks, and I'm going to start with the comments now. My daughter struggles. Part of my strong desire to have masking is because she has severe medical issues, including chronic lung disease. She needs to be in school, but she needs to be safe. I have a SPED kiddo. SPED is special needs. She does best in person. My daughter is in first grade. She does not do so well emotionally or academically learning virtually. If we could have our children in school, that is much preferred. The back and forth and change is terrible. My kindergartner is struggling to pay attention. He was learning so fast in school, but has slowed this past week due to virtual. My 4th and 7th grader do not like virtual at all and find it hard to focus with the distraction of home. It also doesn't help. My husband works nights and I work days, meaning I either take the youngest with me, which was horrible last week, or my husband stays up until 2:15 p.m. after working all night to help him at home. This has been extremely challenging for our youngest, who's in 3rd grade. She cried all last week. Last year was a nightmare. I'm praying we can go back to school soon. At this rate, she will have to redo a grade. My special needs kiddo has basically had nothing done because it just doesn't work for him. His teacher is trying, but he must be in person. My daughter is in GATE and is struggling. She needs in person as well due to her ADHD. It is a constant battle to get her focused and assignments completed. My oldest can't focus at all. He went from high 90s average last year to almost failing math and ELA at interims. GATE student. He needs structure and in-person engagement. Special needs mama here too. My littlest did her therapy virtually last year and struggled. This year she is in DK and was doing wonderfully before the disruption. Virtual has been unsuccessful and frustrating for us. Her teachers have worked hard to accommodate her, and as a mom who is working full-time remotely, I just cannot give her the 100% focus that she deserves. These go on, working parents, parents who have to quit jobs or fear they will have to quit jobs, parents who had to go back because they lost the COVID unemployment, and the best way to get the students back in schools with masks. The data has already been discussed, and I urge you to please take steps to protect our students and get them back in school. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is Kelly Bates. Okay,
One is a study on math, the other is COVID.
thank you.
So I was already nervous to do this prior, but now I am coming in representing a whole bunch more people than I had intended. So first I would like to address The parents of 8 special needs children outside who are having a very hard time with the current situation as far as mask mandates, they absolutely are against them for their children's special need requirements in learning speech and all those issues, as well as the virtual not serving their child's needs in education while still being billed their Medicaid and insurances for these services they feel they're not getting. So that's 8 kids are represented outside for that. As far as the overall consensus, it seems to be the same, which is, well, I'd much rather sit here and speak about other things. And even though the proviso stands and the state Supreme Court has ruled, we have a small minority of parents organizing and using tragic events in our community to push their personal beliefs on the district as a whole. I stand here representing the majority of parents in this district who continue to support choice. I represent the dozens of emails and messages I get saying, thank you, I wish we can make it in, and why can't people just leave our children alone? See, it seems to me we're failing to understand that masks are not banned. Anyone and everyone who wants to wear one can and should. Grown adults are not sitting around saying, I wish the school board would tell me what to decide, or I can't think for myself and make personal health decisions for myself or family. People demanding mask mandates are not privy to special information the general population has not heard. We've all been inundated with COVID data and statistics daily. Many of us have gone above and beyond to learn about it and looked at the risks and know the information. Sorry. Many parents and teachers all over your district have looked at these risks and have decided for themselves what they think is best. If people wanted masks, they'd be wearing them. That's simple. I've talked to dozens of students and staff members in this district and asked 3 simple questions. What percentage of the students in your class are masked? Does your teacher or do you as a teacher or administrator wear a mask? And if you are a teacher or administrator, why do or don't you? The answers were same across the board. All of those I surveyed found that 75 to 90% of their classrooms were unmasked. The majority of students I surveyed stated all, if not most of their teachers did not wear a mask or only wore them while moving about but not during instruction. Teachers and administrators mostly said they did not wear them or wore them simply to provide comfort to students and families who feel unsafe, but normally would choose not to in their own free time. To me, this shows what people in your district have decided. Now let's talk about numbers. We all know numbers are higher this year because the Delta variant is more contagious. They would be higher regardless of masking or vaccination status, as proven in countries like Israel. What's more important to focus on is the fact that Delta has proven not to be at greater risk to our children, as evidenced in studies both by the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic. The death rate has remained the same, 0.01, since November. If you pull up, I believe it's the MMWR report. I'm just going to finish this statement. 7 indicators of kids in the hospital with COVID. Out of 7 of them, 6 were not significant. 1
Thank you. Is that all of them? Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, we have a time limit that is on the back of our cards that we allow a total of 20 minutes for comments. And that actually includes 7 people speaking. That was the purpose for combining them, just so that everybody knows that was the purpose for combining like subjects so that we could try to hear from all different areas. Now, we will have another 21 or 7 people speak at the end of our open comments that are not comments on agenda items. So we will move on then on our agenda to our approval of our meeting minutes. Board members, you should have received in your packets the regular meetings of August 23rd, the called meeting of August the 30th, and the called meeting of September the 1st. If you're okay with doing those in open session, I need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Motion made to approve those by Mr. Guthrie, second by Mr. Farnsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Next on the agenda is our superintendent's report. State of the district, Mr. Pye.
Well, probably need to take my mask off if I'm going to talk because I'm really talking to the audience outside of the room as well as into the room, but I want to use this time to try to talk to my community, our community, but most importantly, our school community. I've been lately very disengaged from my own people. I have to work between the administrators and it's third-party information, and I like to be the teller of what I expect of people. I like to answer the questions myself that people may have. I just believe in that type of transparency, that type of honesty, that type of support. When people give you all they have, the least I can do is listen to them in their time of need, try to bring reason to some of the things they have on their minds, and weigh them heavily to what's in best interest of our district. I know I was once asked in this room, Mr. Pye, are you choosing the teachers over the parents? I quickly said, absolutely. That was not the correct answer. I choose everyone. But my teachers in this district are the backbone of this district. If they're not in the classroom, there's no learning going on. If teachers are not making a difference in the lives of children, then differences aren't being made. No matter what I say, no matter what the board says, it's not going to happen. They're the frontline people in the trenches that's got to do their job. They've got to be standing tall. So I wanted to start off tonight by offering my sincere thanks and appreciation and gratitude to Team Dorchester. Yes, the teachers are the backbone of our district, but there's so many others who make up the body from head to toe. That's our administrators, the principals, the assistant principals, the district office, the support staff, our nurses, our secretaries, our TAs, our adult support, our guidance counselors, our custodial, our bus drivers, food service, substitutes, facilities, that goes on and on. Our parent volunteers, our students. Tonight we heard in the presentation how our high school students are going to help us with food service, our culinary arts students, how they're helping us with our getting the devices out and taking care of them in the schools. What wonderful support. We're blessed to have students that are willing to give of their time for the cause, and there is a cause. Then we have that community of supporters out there, our cheerleaders, retired staff members, business people who have supported, I know me, since I've been here since 1970, and they have been great supporters. I'm sure they've talked at their dinner table. The old man needs to go. He's lost the touch. But I also think they say nobody tries harder. So it's that strong foundation of support that we all need. And this is a time of all time. I worry about the comments tonight. I was appreciative to hear, not slap at our teachers. But I've been in this room where our teachers have been slapped repeatedly. And I'm not going to put up with it as a superintendent. I will not stay in any more meetings where my teachers and my staff is being trashed. Promise you that. I'm totally against that. So if that's going to be the agenda, then I'm not going to be part of it. I really can't stand here and put up with this any longer. These people can't give any more. They're telling you about the balance. The kindergarten teacher said it so well. They're worried about their own children, their own families. But what about the kids in their care? What about the kids of parents who can't come up and voice their concern because they're working 3 jobs? Their boss won't let them off. One day off and they're fired. Who's going to feed their children? Who's going to clothe their children? So it's a real problem out there. So we have to have that strong foundation. We've been tested and challenged like never before. For the last 18 months, I can't even, there's one word to describe it, but I won't use it tonight, but it is, if there's a such place as we know what, then we've been through it in the last 18 months. I can't tell you more about it than that. So we need to all be working together. We need to agree to disagree. There's no unanimous support going to occur where you wear a mask, you don't wear a mask. If you're waiting for unanimous support, it's not going to happen. And you can continue to raise all the concerns. I've heard them all. And you know what? I've only read a few where the people use profanity and they threaten me with my life and some of those things that I throw in the garbage can. I don't give that the time of day. However, everyone strikes me with the passion that the person is saying. Maybe they're not saying it as well as I think they could, but I try to look for something in there that could be a common thread to bring us together. And I've seen a lot of that lately. I can see and understand the reasons of the folks that want the right to choose what's best for their child. I've heard the concerns some of them have had with the issues of wearing masks. I can't stand wearing it, frankly. It's been very difficult to me. But when you've had COVID and you've had friends die of COVID, you suddenly decide it's not about you. It's about you and you and you. I'm protecting you as much as I'm protecting myself. So we have to look at how do we fit in the whole scheme of things. But we all do agree on one thing. Every one of the emails I get, that children do come first. However, some people want to judge the teachers, myself and others, that the children don't come first with us if we don't agree with them. That is so wrong. And I've taken a lot of that, and I don't mind taking it. That's my job. But I don't want my teachers burdened with that. They have their own problems and their conditions in their homes, and they're giving the best they can do. I've had 11 teachers to quit because of this in the last 2 weeks. 11. Y'all, when you have a teacher shortage, you just can't have people walking out because they're fearful what's going to happen to them and wondering from board meeting to board meeting, is some new rule going to be made because mobs are outside threatening? Are we going to be intimidated into making a decision that's not in best interest of children? I've worked with this board. We're challenged, and we're on the brink half the time because they put you on the edge. But we haven't faltered. We still put our children first. And we try to listen. We try to be good stewards of the positions that we hold. But like I say, until you agree with someone, sometimes you're never going to say the right thing. So I appreciate the suggestions, the concerns, the perspectives. And like I said, all of you have made valid points. But as a public board and superintendent, we can't take sides. We have to look at everything and try to make the best decision for the majority of our students. Special ed, young children, high school kids. We try sometimes to separate them out, but that's not fair. The equal opportunity should be for all kids. We should be trying to find ways to meet all kids' needs. I had a quote that I have used, if I can find it here, that I think says it well. It says, teachers, I want you to take pride in how far you have come. I want you to have faith in how far you could go. We've been challenged, we've been beat, we've been kicked, and I'm one of them. I've been kicked for the last time. I'm here only because I love children and I serve the district. I can leave tonight, and I've actually thought about it. So you need to understand, I've been at this for 52 years, and I've had a stellar career, and I don't want it tainted by people who want things that we just can't deliver. We just can't deliver it, and everybody has a good point, but where do you finally bring it there? And I feel the pressure that people's looking to me. Teachers, many of you have written me notes, thanking me for my long time here and what I'm doing. But Mr. Pye, please stand tall. Don't let us fall to this, this, and this. Well, Mr. Pye doesn't make the final decision, and y'all need to know that. I do the best I can to weigh in when I'm asked to weigh in, and my board knows I will weigh in. But I'm a cooperative person. I'm not going to come in here and argue with any board member over anything. I'm going to go along and keep the peace as much as I can, and behind the scenes, I will say what Joe Pye has to say. You can trust on that. They know that. And to get my support on any initiative a board member has to have, it needs to be the consensus of our school board. It can be individual board members, and I have to listen to all, and I do what I can to rally my troops. But folks, I've been asked to be a cheerleader, and I'm a natural-born cheerleader. But it's hard as the dickens to keep taking the whip out and try to say, rah, 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 beat, 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 rah, rah, rah. I'm forcing people out of their lanes, and they're already out of their lanes. They're doing as best they can. We have a lot of people struggling. So I had to take a moment tonight to clear the air. I love you all. I trust you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pye. Does anybody have any comments?
I do. I just want to thank Mr. Pye because I know he doesn't go home at 5 o'clock. He doesn't go home at 8 o'clock. Sometimes he doesn't go home till 10 o'clock. And he's working on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes we send him emails. We get a couple dozen, and we think, well, he is not on this one. Let's forward it to him. And he works around the clock. And it's not about age. It's about wisdom. And right now we really need a lot of wisdom. And we appreciate what you have done for our district.
Thank you, Tanya.
not only wisdom, Mr. Pye, but also the experience. You know, you've been there, done that, so we appreciate it and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Ms. Wimberly?
I would just like to say that I think one thing that what Mr. Pye said, a feeling that it brings out of me is teamwork, and I think that is something that we as a board are working on and want to show, and I think that it is something that's important for our entire community where we are right now. We are in a very difficult situation, and we are trying to do what's best for our students. I think one thing that really could make a difference is all of us pulling together and working as a team. I know that our teachers are doing an incredible job. They are doing more than their fair share. And not only our teachers, but our administrators, all the staff in our schools, our school bus drivers, people in our cafeterias, our nurses, everyone is doing an incredible job of being a team player. So I would just like to implore our community and our family members to step up and be team players too. And I'm not saying that you aren't, but I think everyone needs to just look inside and think about what you can do at this point to, as we move forward, to be a team player. Is there something that you can do that will make a difference? And I think there's little things that we all can do. Can you wear a mask? Can you send your child to school in a mask? Can you get vaccinated if you're not? Can you drive your children to school if they're currently riding on a school bus? Can you carpool with other children? It may be as simple things like that, but are there things that you can do that will make a difference to this team, to keep these children in school, to support our teachers and all that they are doing? Because I think we've all seen from these past few days of virtual learning that they are certainly working hard and doing all that they can do. So I think I feel confident I can speak for the board as I implore everyone out there to just be a part of this team, because that is what we need right now.
Thank you, Ms. Wimberly. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? No? Evan? Okay. Okay. Would you like to give an update on the board workshop, Mr. Pye?
What board workshop? Okay. Yes, ma'am, I have that on my agenda too. Thank you for drawing that. Be back to that. Tonight during the presentation, my team, the district office staff, working with their principals and administrators out of the school level, tossed around every idea and suggestion that we've been receiving from the parents and from the community members and from each other to talk about what can we do. We're so limited. As one of the speakers said earlier, the young man, have we exhausted everything? Are we doing at least, I know what he said, the minimum, but he meant to say the maximum. Are we doing the most we can do? And we have beefed up every single thing we were doing to the next level. I've said that the plexiglass is not the only one. I mean, it's probably the only one that we've not put it back to the same level. We have such mixed reaction from that last time. And so many people presented information, data saying that, yes, anything we do could help, but there was no real information defining the fact that it made a difference for the other negatives that parents said about the children couldn't see around it, they felt closed in. It still was not a far enough distance, so why are we putting that around them? We heard all that. We visited classrooms. So we left some in the rooms, and so we're going to let any parent out there that wishes their child to have the plexiglass, particularly in elementary, we want to do that. We have the room to do it, and that could make a difference. And if you're in a room where you are wearing a mask, which is highly recommended, and the people around you are wearing a mask, and you do have the plexiglass too, and you're more than 3 feet apart, and where we're going to be cleaning this from now on, I see great things happening. I do think it's going to make a big difference. All I've got to go on is the research we had last year. Our numbers were phenomenal, but this variant is a different beast than COVID-19. It is highly contagious, and it affects hundreds. One person infected could reach out and involve over 300 people, where The original one only branched out and maybe 30 or 35 people were involved. So, or 24, I mean, less than that. So it's highly contagious, and therefore it spreads very quickly. And it's real hard to tell what's what. At the same time, there's no indication that what we do in school is happening at home. Our parents are working when their kids get home, or they're wearing masks in your home, or they're outside playing with the neighbor's child without mask on. It's a total picture. And this is what Ms. Wimberly said. Everybody needs to be on the team. We got to decide, no matter what we believe in, to do the best we can for our child and therefore for our community. No matter what we believe in, there are things we all can do. The hygiene measures are all in place, and did a great job of that last year. That will continue. The markings back on the floor of how to go in the lines and things, all that's back. Or will be back when they get back into the purifiers or in every classroom in the district as of today, and all the offices. Every place that they've asked for one, they're there. They're state-of-the-art. They're nice ones. Now, we have vendors who all want business, and everybody claims just like what car is the best. You want a Ford or a Chevrolet. It depends on who you talk to as to what car might be better than the other, and neither one of them may be as good as a Volvo or a Toyota, and that's the way it is with all products. But we looked at many of them, and we got the ones we could get, and they're generally, in most cases, oversized. If we got one that's 800 square feet, it covers, that would be for a little office that is 100 to 200 feet big. So it's 4 times what we need. We have 3,200 ones in some classrooms. The average classroom is 800 square feet, but some of the art and music rooms may be up to 1,200. Those all have the big 3,000 plus square footage. And then all the regular classrooms with 800 have no less than a 2,000 model. So we're using various ones, and we're more than covered with all those there. So the air is about as pure as we can make it. So those are some issues. We also want to let you know that everything we talked about tonight will be on the web page tonight. So go and check it, if not tonight, tomorrow. And our whole meeting was about mitigating strategies that we had last year that we're going to beef up, some new ones that we've added. We talked about cleaning, upping the cleaning schedule. We were short custodial workers, but during this time period, we're looking at hiring 1 or 2 different custodial companies to send us workers, teams of workers. So if we're short 20, we're going to get 20. If we're short 30, we'll get 30. We're going to have the teams necessary to do the proper cleaning. Matter of fact, I would suggest if we have a chance to go over Dr. Huggins and we can get 40 instead of 20, let's get the 40. I want our teams, our people are worked. They just can't work any harder. So if we can give them some extra support to free them up, I think they can do a more thorough job and know that we appreciate them by giving them as much help when we can get it. Transportation, we talked about that. We talked about facilities with the purifiers, food service, getting more kiosks, kiosks for the high school, ILT, and Rollins. I think those 4 schools are on that. We're already doing lots of good things with it, but we got to spread the kids out. We're spreading them out by doing this. It's much better than trying to have 4 lunch periods for everybody in the lunchroom. They can now eat anywhere in the building they want to eat. Gyms, libraries, halls, every classroom is open for lunch. And so they just go in there in line to get the lunch. We just don't want these large lines with kids ganged up together. They need to have some distance between them and hopefully mask them if they're willing to wear them. We've reduced the quarantine time. It's a 7-day for staff, 10-day for students, but there's specifics on the web that will tell you the things that go with that to make that legitimate. We're constantly looking at other ways. If it's a way to reduce that even more so, we're committed to looking for those things. We're looking at several companies for contact tracing and other ways that they can help our nursing staff to be able to reach these parents in a timely way. And let's get out ahead of the curve. We just were short. We were down 5, 6 nurses when we shut down a week or 2 ago. We're back to 4, so we have 4 out. And I look for that number will increase before it decreases. There's just no nurse to be found. So we're going to have to bring in some other services to help us with the things that we need to do to be timely and make sure we're heading this virus off best we can. We also have when do we quarantine a class? We have some detailed information on that. We have the latest DHEC quarantine information, and then we discuss the communication plan of how we're going to communicate this to the public on a regular, constant basis. And parents, you're going to get sick of us doing this, but we feel like from the comments I get from so many people, there is a lack of understanding of what we're doing. And I take full blame of that, probably a lack of communication, that you wouldn't know these things. So we're going to make sure you know what we're doing, and that may help a little bit for you to be able to feel like you can work with us and trust us to try to do the best for your child. I think that's pretty well it. I had a bunch of notes, but it's on the website, the district website, and I think you can find some good information, and we're still open every day. You'll turn your questions in. I get them from Ms. Rayner. We get the questions from the board meetings, and we have been addressing them. I have been addressing them personally. But again, when I receive 50 a day, it's difficult. When I'm meeting all day and do so many things, we try to do like we did tonight, the cards. I'm trying to group them into categories where the answer will fit there. And I'm trying to respond for the board members, because I know all 7 of them can't reach all the emails either. So they're doing some, I'm doing some, and hopefully everybody's getting a reply, because we're all sharing the information together. But no one person can probably get all of those answered, and I want to be involved in every one of the answers, because I help make the policy and the procedures of the district, and I want to know firsthand what people have asked for. And like I said, a lot of those, I'll read the first 2 paragraphs, and I'm so mad I'm seeing stars. And I read the next 2 paragraphs, and now I'm scratching my head like, there might be some merit to this. This could be something. Or I see now this person doesn't know what I know. So how do I get that information to this person without sounding defensive or putting them down? So that is the power of good communication, and my whole staff has been put on notice that's what we're going to be about. The biggest thing is tell them what we can do, which is still limited. It's up in the courts about what we do about the mask. I know we could probably override anything, and whatever the board decides as the governing body here, if that's the mission they want to do, I'll be first in line to make that work. Trust me, I did a good job of it last time. I'm open to it again. If that's not afforded to us, I'm not going to cry about it and stir up and threat. I'm going to get there and just dig deep and make the best of a not so good situation. Virtual learning, many places touted as fantastic. The majority of students do all right. If they have supervision, they do fine. But a lot of our young children, like kindergartners and first graders, I'm going to tell you now, they just cannot read virtually. I don't care how smart they are. That's just an issue. They need their teacher. They need to see their teacher talk. They need to do that. So that's a hard thing when we go to something when I'm not quite on board with that. As an educator, I couldn't teach that way. And our teachers, I applaud them. They didn't have a choice. This is what we're going to do. Everybody has to teach it. We don't care that you're like me and you're 52 years into your career and it's past your time to be the technology whiz of the district. Never mind, it's your job, and we've got to reach the kids. And our people have done it time and time again. So we're here as a staff to do what we need to do, but we need the community's trust, we need their support, but most importantly, since there's such a difference, let's all agree that children will come first in our decision making, and let's be patient. I need patience, and I need to be patient. And together we will do as we did last year. We'll make the best of a bad situation. And some people may not agree we did. I felt like all my friends around the state were the envy of the state. Dorchester, too, people will tell you, did the very best they could handling it. But it's hard to have a plan that's under attack every day. Because if you vary from the plan, the ones who supported it now don't have trust in you. So the trust factor, if you try to take sides, you're going to lose both sides. And so we're trying to stay away from that. Political piece, and it's politics, y'all. You see it on the news, you see it in the legislature, you see it in the governor's office, you see it everywhere. And we just have to deal with that and keep it out of our classrooms. Our children, we're their advocates. We need to be making the best decisions by listening to the parents, including them in our decision making, And all of us putting our heads together, and at the end of the day, we find the course of action, and we do our very best to follow it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pye. Does anybody have any further comments?
Just very quickly, and thank you, Mr. Pye. I would urge folks, if they weren't able to watch the entire workshop prior to this, I think it's well worth the hour-and-a-half time frame to go back. There was a lot of really, really good information that was put out. There were a couple things, and Ms. Smith, I apologize because I know you just switched off of it. Can you bring up one of the slides that really stuck out to a lot of us as board members, looking at the masks versus non-masks, the one with the little germ on there? Can we find that guy?
Yeah, it was.
I don't know that we need to see all of them, but there was one, I think it was either the second or the third one that was, the second one is probably the most powerful. Yeah, so this is the second one, right? Yeah. So I don't know if we have a way, is that showing now on YouTube? Do you have a way to do that? Okay, so that's up on your screen, so hopefully you see that. Is that the first one? Either way, so we're showing some different scenarios here, and the point being made, this is obviously a very visual indication of how did we get, why and how do we get to the situation that we were in with 5,000 plus kids quarantined in our district. And so it really has to do with that close contact. And I know I'm beating this dead horse. I know I've reiterated it, but I just don't think folks understand the close contact quarantine protocols. That's not a Dorchester District 2 item. That's not a policy that we have in place. It's the fact that comes from South Carolina DHEC. That is South Carolina law. The Dorchester District 2 has to follow those protocols. So that's the South Carolina DHEC exclusion list. I would ask people, please, 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 if you're curious more about this particular slide, you need to go look up South Carolina DHEC exclusion list. A lot of parents are very familiar with that because it's the one that denotes how lice is handled in schools. Everybody's probably dealt with lice. They've never dealt with COVID. COVID happens to be on the same exclusion list as lice. It's handled differently, of course, but when folks ask us, why is my child quarantined? Are we sending healthy kids into quarantine? It comes from that South Carolina DHEC exclusion list. So again, I just ask folks to do that. But to Ms. Wimberly's point earlier, when we look at the masks, this is why right now you're hearing it's highly encouraged because we don't have a mask mandate. We can't require them based on South Carolina law. If you want your kid in school, I would tell you need to have them in a mask, right? That one right there, the indoor school close contact, right? So if they're in close contact but they're in a mask, then they're okay, right? Am I correct in saying that? You don't have to quarantine, right? So again, that's why we're just reaching out to the community. Again, without the mask mandate, without the requirement, it's very difficult to make that happen, but we would just ask our community and our parents to really look at that, dig down pretty deep. Again, you haven't heard me once bring up whether I believe in masks or not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying whether masks work. I'm not saying whether they don't work. Very factual and logical case that I'm trying to lay out. In the school close contact scenarios are determined by South Carolina DHEC exclusion list, which we're required to follow. So if folks would follow these protocols, we will have less students in quarantine. So that's my piece, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth. Anyone else have anything they want to add? No? Okay, then we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our personnel report. Board members, in your package, you should have received the personnel reports for the resignations and recommendations for the 21-22 school year. Does anyone have a problem with doing those in open session? Okay, I need a motion to approve those. Motion by Ms. Crosby. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Farnsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, next on the agenda is board committee reports, and we're going to begin with the policy committee and our policy chairman, Ms. Crosby.
Yes, this is the second reading These are the policies that we will consider. IHFAA, Diploma of Distinction. IKA and IKAR, Grading, Assessment Systems, and Administrative Rule. IKCAR, Academic Letters and Medals, Administrative Rule. JLCDC, Food Allergies and Special Dietary Needs.
Okay, that motion for second reading came from committee, so I don't need a second on that. Is there any discussion? All in favor of second reading? 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Okay, next on the agenda is unfinished business. And our unfinished business that we would like to handle tonight, board members, you should have received a copy. But a couple of weeks ago, we had our Mr. Pye's evaluation. And I would like to just, if I could, just read the letter of his evaluation. I'm going to just take my mask down here just for a second so that I can make sure I get heard well. Mr. Pye, I am writing on behalf of the Dorchester School District 2 Board of Trustees to provide a summary of the board's evaluation of your performance as superintendent during the 2021 school year, which was discussed with you during executive session at our meeting on August the 30th, 2021. We also want to provide you with guidance for the 21-22 school year. Following the board's discussion of your performance, the board voted unanimously to provide you with an overall commendable evaluation for this past school year. We appreciate your continued devotion to Dorchester School District 2. You have continued to make this district students your top priority, as well as district staff. We appreciate your leadership during these unprecedented times and recognize the many challenges you face as our district leader through the COVID-19 pandemic. We are pleased with the district's collaboration with the county on projects. We also wish to commend you for accomplishing all of the district's goals this year, with the exception of 2 goals that could not be accomplished due to funding issues, which were unrelated to COVID-19 funding. The board identified areas of focus for the district for the 21-22 school year. As discussed, we would like you to focus on enhancing communications within the district. We ask that you enhance the relationship between the board and the superintendent so we are all on one team. We ask that you share with the board the major issues the district is addressing so the board can provide input and share responsibility and support as appropriate. We ask that you ensure that our communications and messaging with parents are consistent throughout the district. With the COVID-19 pandemic, there are often communications from parents asking questions and seeking guidance on many issues. We ask that you establish a process for your staff to identify and respond to substantive concerns from parents as appropriate. Given the unprecedented time within which we are operating, we ask that you and the administration continue your primary focus on the current 21-22 school year and create the best vision and plan going forward for the district to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic and prioritize the health and safety of our students and staff. We ask that you plan your focus on the district students as well as on improving staff morale and that you communicate the plan. We also ask that you evaluate and review district's administrative organizational chart to ensure continuity of operations in the district's overall leadership and that you identify an administrative designee in your absence. We are grateful to have you as our superintendent at the helm of the district and appreciate the hard work and efforts you make on behalf of the district every day. As a result of your commendable evaluation, your contract has been extended 1 year through June 30th, 2024. Thank you for all of your efforts you make on behalf of the students in our district every day. Sincerely, Gail Hughes and Dorchester District 2 Board of Trustees. Does anyone have any comments? Nope. Okay, Mr. Pye, I am going to present you. I'm actually going to sign this letter, and I'm going to present you with this letter for your file. there is your letter. And then I also have your contract, of which I am also going to sign and give you as well for your signature, so that this can also be filed away. I would just like to make one comment, and I'm going to keep it brief because we've had a lot of discussion tonight, but Mr. Pye has truly been the backbone of this community, or this district, which I consider a community because it's all of us working together, our community, our board, our teachers, everyone, it's all of us working together. And he's truly been the backbone, and I personally would not have wanted anyone else in this position during these times that we have had and the things that we've had to go through. Mr. Pye he knows the district, he knows the community, and we always know, without a shadow of a doubt, we always know as board members that Mr. Pye always has our students and our staff, their heart in his best interest. So from me to you, Mr. Pye, thank you very much for all that you've done. Just a few of us, but you deserve a standing ovation. Okay, next on the agenda is other business and correspondence. Under that, board members, we have some training sessions coming up, and we've got the SCSBA upcoming training events Beyond the Basics on October the 7th, as well as the regional advocacy, which is October the 13th. If any of those events are of interest to you, if you could please let Ms. Smith know so that she can get you registered for those, that would be great.
Is that virtual?
No, they're in person. But they're done in a small setting where they're only allowing a certain number of people so that we can abide by the COVID regulations. Okay, next on the agenda is public comments. Thank you. And looks like our first person up is Austin Allen. Next one. I think he's at the door. I have to read that one. Is Mr. Allen coming? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Austin Allen. Welcome.
How y'all doing tonight? My name's Austin Allen. I'm not going to be as articulate as the rest of the people. I'm just kind of here representing people below the poverty line that are struggling to raise their children. My concern is just I've been waiting here since 4 o'clock. And my son, Isaiah Allen, he's 7. He has speech therapy, supposed to be through the school. They've currently been billing our Medicaid as if he's been attending, and they've been teaching him and all, billing Medicaid and not providing the services, which is a concern to me. To me, it almost seems like fraud when you tell an insurance company that you're providing a service and you're not. And then they're saying that now they can do it virtually because that's going to be the same. My biggest concern is just the direction everything is going. I hear all these things about the COVID money, you know, these air purifiers, and then last time, you know, I thought they were actually doing something, and then it turns out they don't really do anything. So it just kind of like seems like a money grab. And then there's people like myself who aren't blessed in a financial situation where I'm a single father, and you know, I had to send my son to Georgia. I had to beg his mother. I have full custody, had him since he was 2. I had to beg his mother, who doesn't do a whole lot to help. She tries and all. She lives in another state, to watch him for a week because I couldn't take off my job and all. They were going to be fired. And you know, it was either that or I would lose my job, lose my income, and the school shut down literally 2 days after the rent was due. So I paid the $1,440, and then I had to beg his mother to take care of him and all. And he came back, so it was the day after his birthday. I had to send him there. Opened his presents. The next morning we woke up, we drove to Georgia and all. First time I've ever felt that helpless and all. And my concern is, what direction is the school going? Is this going to be something that happens on a regular basis? Or do we have a plan in which you're not going to continue to let these children down? Because how are you supposed to provide education for a child who has a speech disability, which y'all are being paid for through Medicaid, because y'all are billing it on a regular basis, but y'all aren't providing the services you promised? And for the people who are below the poverty line, we rely and depend on the service. The way I was raised, my mama sent me to school. Back then, you didn't have to have nobody at the bus stop. You just wait out there and all. And I go to school, and my mama went to work and all. And that's the way it was. And so for y'all to think this is a new reality is nonsense. We need to get it together and figure out how are we going to keep the kids in, because it's not about these masks and about segregation. Because last year, my child was segregated. I reported to the principal, assistant principal, and they said it wasn't happening. I said, because my child looked different, and I had opted out of the mask. They said, well, there's parents here that don't want their children socializing with unmasked children. And I said, so because my child looks different than them, you're going to allow these parents to secretly tell y'all. So when we talk about Brown versus school board education and all, and we talk about segregation and all like that, because somebody looks different and because they believe different and they're religious.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Next up is Lindsey Berg.
Hi, my name's Lindsey. I'm a mom, first and foremost. From the day that my kids were born, I feel like I became a mom to every other child. If there was ever a need that they had, or they were in trouble, needed help, whatever it might be. What a scary time to be a parent. First and foremost, I want to thank each of you for being public servants, for serving our community. In response to something that Mr. Pye said earlier, I could not be more thankful for our teachers and everything, every person that makes our schools still run. I cannot even imagine their day-to-day, what they go through. It's heartbreaking. As a mom, I feel like I have to make a choice every day between my kids' physical health, their mental health, their stability. 18 months later, I have to sacrifice all three. My kids do not thrive in virtual. It's awful. It really is. I'm not a teacher. But I also recognize and understand that in order for them to not be virtual, they have to be safe inside their schools. The Delta variant, notably so, more contagious. We have children dying. A 4-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 10th grader in Aiken County died in 1 week at the beginning of this school year. Earlier, someone mentioned how they polled a classroom and the majority was unmasked. In comparison to last year, we wore masks. Our kids deserve to be safe. We need to have mask mandates. I understand that certain hands are tied, but they're only as tied as brave as you are. There's options, there's a solution. And also, to Mr. Pye's point, we have to work together. We're not all going to meet in the middle. We're not all going to like each other and whatever the other person is suggesting, but compromise equals community. It's about our kids. It's about our educators. We can't have an education system without healthy educators. And the only way in this COVID world that we live in, we can make that happen is to work together and to make sure that our kids are our number one priority. I had a realization the other day, in the beginning of COVID. My kids are now 8 and 9, so they were, I don't know, younger than that. But they would always start every sentence with, "When COVID's over, Mom, we can go to Disney World, we can not wear masks, we can do this, that, and the other." I realized earlier today, I don't remember the last time they said, "When COVID's over."
Thank you, Ms. Berg. Next up is Haley Shoemake.
Good evening. My name is Haley and I'm in 7th grade. I would like to touch up on a few details. To begin with, I recall the board saying that we would make schools go virtual for a week and a half to sanitize the buildings. This confused me because some of my teachers were still teaching in their classrooms throughout online learning. If they can be in school, why can't students? Another mystery is how kids are supposed to learn through video meetings. At home, there are many distractions like pets, siblings, and other things the teachers can't control. Also, many kids, including me, have been repetitively getting kicked out of Teams meetings, which makes it a challenge to learn anything. Teams is really glitchy, so it can be really hard to hear the teacher, and many times Teams won't load or pull up assignments. Another big part of learning for children of all ages is interaction. Talking, playing, and even just helping on a math equation is important. But with Teams and Zoom, these things can be tough to reteach. Also, this is teaching kids that this is normal, and it's not. Why can we ride buses to school, but we can't go on field trips? It's the same form of transportation and the same buses. And I go to an art school, and what is the point of an art school if you can't perform? Next, quarantining healthy kids because they might have COVID-19 is lowering their immune systems, which makes them more likely to get risky and sick. Lastly, if vaccinated kids wear masks, this proves that they don't trust the vaccine themselves. How can they tell us to be vaccinated if it's not trustworthy? Thank you.
Yep, Krista Cartuccio. All right. After I was notified that my child had to quarantine, we called to request an incident report detailing the dates the district was made aware of the positive case, when it was confirmed, and the date of exposure. We were told they did not have that information because proof of a positive test result is not required. Quarantining students without that information means DD2 is unlawfully excluding children from their right to participate in an equal education. To make matters worse, you are allowing vaccinated individuals to bypass quarantine, which is not only aiding in the spread, but more importantly, discrimination. Is discrimination somehow acceptable because DHEC says so? We are told that if you're vaccinated, you're less likely to get or spread the virus, but that's not necessarily true according to what we know, and especially with the Delta variant. I have here proof that the viral load that a person carries is the main driver in COVID transmission. This is a sample of 7 articles to support that. Here, I have proof that vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals infected with COVID carry the same viral load, and there is a sample of 8 articles here to support that. Highly vaccinated countries are seeing a surge in infections, mostly among the vaccinated. Gibraltar, 99% vaccinated. Israel, 78% vaccinated, 60 or more percent vaccinated cases. Iceland, 85%, also over 60% of vaccinated cases. Here in the US, we have 70% of adults vaccinated according to the CDC, but ironically, the current daily cases and deaths are 3 to 5 times higher than what they were this time last year, prior to the vaccines. Also, a CDC study, which is this chart that you guys can see, and also a CDC study from July showed that 74% of people infected in a Massachusetts outbreak were fully vaccinated. So please feel free to explain how your quarantine procedures does not represent blatant discrimination against the unvaccinated. Implement the same guidelines for all or remove them. We want the schools open and for DD2 to stop treating healthy kids as if they are sick. There is something that describes exactly that. It's called factitious disorder imposed on another, formerly known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It is a mental illness and it is child abuse. And I just want to make very clear, there's not a person on this planet, it doesn't matter what you guys do, there's not a person on this planet who's going to mask or test or track or trace or vaccinate or indoctrinate my children. And I will fight you to the gates of hell. And you could be sure of that. Thank you.
That is all of our comments on non-agenda items. However, we have not reached our max. So we have 3 more that were out there that we were not, 3 more groups, I should say, that we were not able to hear from. If everyone would be so inclined to hear those 3, we can go on with that. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so the next one on the list will be Shelley Pendergrass. Reminder, these are ones on agenda items. Wilma Brown and Jason Benz. Jason Benz.
Hi, my name is Shelley Pendergrass. I have 5 gorgeous children that are students at DD2. 2 of them are autistic. 1 of them has become suicidal. He is maxed out on every medication his psychiatrist can give him. He needs to be in school. I took pictures and sent them to his principal today at Greg, requesting he be removed from a certain teacher who was refusing to accommodate him according to his IEP. I have dealt with the special ed department constantly. I was an educator last year in Berkeley County Schools, and I quit my job to be home because I knew that this stuff was just too much for him. I am begging you to never have us go virtual again. I am begging you for us to not mandate masks, because both of my children, in their IEPs, have that they will not wear masks. They can't do it. He starts to chew on it. He breaks out. It's horrible. You guys have a hard job. I don't want it. We pray for you, but I am begging you to understand. These kids are struggling. Today, he started crying, he started screaming, everyone hates me, I'm stupid, and his sweet, precious math teacher called my cell phone because he got off the Google Meet, said, please let me talk to him, please let me tell him everyone's struggling. She is now gonna stay after school every Thursday with him until 4:30 to get him caught up. because she is seeing that his mental health, and mental health matters. I don't care if my kids graduate high school and work at Walmart the rest of their lives. If they are healthy, if they love Jesus, and they are kind, this is not helping. It is not helping, and I am begging you, please let them come back to school, keep them in school, and stop with this mask nonsense. It's not good for them. It's not healthy. I saw almost all of you when you went to talk. What did you do? Because it's almost impossible, and the science doesn't support it. The science does not support that masks are going to help our children in any way, shape, or form. And so I am just begging you to please keep the kids in school. If there are people that want to wear masks, I am fine with that. They have freedom. We live in America. They can wear their masks. But you should not ever tell me that my child has to wear a face covering when, especially as an autistic child, the thing he needs the most is to read facial cues. That's what we've taught him since he was diagnosed at the age of 7. And last year that got taken away from him, and he doesn't understand what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Wilma Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to thank the school board for everything you're doing to try to help us get out of this pandemic. I really think you're trying. But, and before I get into the buts, you know, we all share a common goal of reaching the day when we can safely unmask, because I hate these things, and have life return to normal for our children and our communities. What matters is how we reach that goal, using facts and evidence-based information. The governor has prohibited mask wearing, and the legislature, not just the governor. But the president, who I think is above the governor, has given schools and school boards a safety net. He has said that if budgets and your salaries, and I know you get a salary, and the salaries of principals are withheld, you can apply for a Project SAFE grant through the Department of Education. And I would like to see you all do that. And while you're doing it, implement a temporary mask mandate. Because if the president says so, it's going to happen. So you shouldn't be afraid to step out on faith and to do what's right for our children. You know, you talk about a law, Mr. Pye, and I respect the law. I used to serve on the Board of Corrections for the state of South Carolina. But those folks didn't follow the law. That's why they were in the prisons. But just because the law is against mask mandates does not mean the law is right for all people. Back in the day, there were laws against interracial marriages and prohibiting segregation, supporting segregation and drinking out of separate water fountains, riding in the back of the bus. If it weren't for the civil rights movement and the people who protested, we would still be doing that. And thank God they did. So, I'd like you to follow the lead of some of the states and school districts that have issued mandatory masks, like in Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina, and even South Carolina. So please do the right thing, and thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next is Jason Benz.
Please bear with me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. First thing, I have two children in DD2 schools. I have a third grader now and an 8th grader. My 8th grader has been on quarantine. Its quarantine actually ended the day virtual started. We only knew that he was on quarantine because he came and told us that the kid who sat next to him was COVID positive, that he had heard. So my wife called the nurse, found out he was, and had to come get him. We didn't get a phone call saying that until about a week and a half later. So if he became positive with COVID, he would have been exposing other students for a whole week and a half. My daughter, same situation. Her two best friends who are not sitting next to her in class, so they only go by the seating chart. She's with them every recess, every lunch, and everything else. Both of them were out, and presumably from what I've heard with COVID. But it doesn't count because they did not sit next to her. She only had 5 students left in her class right before virtual started. But we were told that if we took her out of school and quarantined her ourselves, we would get in trouble for truancy. Number 2, how just kind of curious how a mask mandate cannot be, we can't do a mask mandate, I've heard, because when the president has said that he would he would cover the funding that was lost. I really gonna have time left over actually at the end of this, fortunately. But on the last school board meeting, we were watching it with my son, a 13-year-old, who asked my wife right after it was over, says, "Mom, why don't they care about us at all?" And this is his opinion of the school board meeting, not anything we told him. He was literally watching it live with us. So it's just some stuff to consider. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Benz. Okay, that completes our public comments. So now, board members, I need a motion to go into executive session for personnel matters regarding a recommendation for hire, as well as legal advice pertaining to Board Policy BC, board member conduct.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie, seconded by Mr. Mitchum. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. We will be returning after our executive session. Okay, I need a motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie, seconded by Mr. Farnsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Okay, I want to begin, first of all, by just talking a little bit about a conversation that we had in our board meeting, in our executive session. We had the discussion about our, as written on our agenda, Policy BC, Board Member Conduct. And in lieu of all of the emails, text messages, phone calls, everything that all of us board members have gotten about the most recent events that have occurred, first and foremost, I want to make sure that everybody understands that board members, a sitting board member, does not have the right or the ability to remove, suspend, or of any sort another board member. That is not in the realm of the responsibility of a sitting board member. And it works that way with pretty much all elected officials. But saying that, I just want to let you know that Dorchester District 2 Board of Trustees is well aware of statements that were made to the news media by one of our current board members related to the safety and welfare of our students. These statements do in any way not reflect the sentiments of our board. Students and staff safety are paramount. They're a major concern of this board. We continue to look at ways to ensure that we maintain a safe environment within our schools for all concerned, for every student, every teacher, every staff member, and every bus driver. So we know that the public was expecting us to come out with some type of a statement or some type of an action from the board, but we want everybody to know when we don't agree with what's happened, it is not our feelings, it's not what we wanted to see happen, it's not what we expected. But again, this is a perfect example of that's in somebody else's hands as to what happens. So we will try to do our very best as a board and as a team, working with the district, to continue to do what we feel we do best, and that is to look out for the safety of each and every one of our students and staff. So I guess I'm going to just kind of open it up and see if anybody has any kind of comments they want to make pertaining to what I said. Okay. No. So with that being said, I guess I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Guthrie. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Mitchum. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Thank you very much and have a great evening.